Hey everyone, it's me. Coming on today because it's been about a week and I've been a little detained, but I want to thank you so graciously for all of my subscribers and everyone who joins in from week to week. I was asked a great question by one of the patrons here, and I love when I get asked questions because it helps me know what my patronage wants, what they want to know, what they want to hear, and it makes it a little easier for me to come up with topics. You know, I got a lot in my mind, but it's hard to narrow down sometimes. So the question I was posed was, what is a soul? How old is a soul? And let's get to know a little bit more about our souls and what they pertain to and what they encompass. Now, again, I will preview this by saying I am not the end all be all of this. However, this is my version, my take. So if you feel a little different than I do, by all means, feel different. That's your right. That's your God-given gift. My understanding of what a soul is unique within itself, as I am a unique individual and you are a unique individual. And everyone that has a soul, and please note that there are vessels, what I would call vessels, that are somewhat being mechanized without a full soul or a sliver of a soul spark. Now, to have a full soul is a gift in itself. There are beings in this existence, not just here, but intergalactically, that do not have such a robust soul spark as some human beings do on this planet. And what I can say is that to have a soul is to have a divine and transcendental piece of the all within you, animating you, so much so of an eternal nature that we can never even fathom in this dimensional space that we're in right now. So I will use a prop to kind of give an example of what I mean about this. And you can kind of decipher for yourself if this rings true for you, if you understand where I'm coming from on this. Each one of us is endowed, let's say, a sliver or of the oversoul of existence, meaning of God, okay, or of the all, or of source, or of creator, if you want to put it that way. There is a massive, infinite pie of soul, let's just say, that we all take part in. This united consciousness, this united weaving of existence that we all are souls. Not to say that we can feel this, experience it so much so in our living, vessel self, but we do when we go to higher levels of meditation or higher levels of consciousness, get to grasp this understanding or are privy to this understanding or this unity consciousness or this unity soul effort. Each person is granted and given a unique identifying signature that is specific to you. No one else on this planet has it. No one else on this planet can have it. And you own this unique signature. Now, the best way I could describe it is if you were to take, let's say, a radio, for example. This dial, represents the infinite. And when I mean infinite, I mean the infinite. You're back. So I know that I'm using a medial dial here to describe. But have you ever used radio? Have you ever gone through each single frequency, each single channel, trying to find a radio station? Now, the best way I could describe it is each one of these channels is unique, has its own bandwidth, has its own vibrance, and can either catch another, catch a station or not. But it doesn't mean that the actual vibrance or the actual channel does not exist. So yes, there are some souls affluent. There might be some souls that maybe catch some more channels or more broadband than others, but it is not to say that each individual frequency does not have its place in the all encompassment of soul or the soul of the all. So each channel or each frequency is different and it gives you a specific signature. Now, how I personally know this is because in my style of channeling, I use the name, the signature of someone's name. Like, let's say, for example, when you were born into this vessel or into this existence or occupy this space in the 3D, your name is somewhat vibrational in the sense that it is unique to you. Most likely no one has your name. Yes, you could be John Smith, but how many are John Alexander Case Smith, etc.? So a name is also unique in its own right. So I can tap into someone's harmony or into someone's vibrance from a name, which is also unique. So it gives me an understanding that we as individuals are this unique vibrance. We are this unique rhythm. We are this unique sound in a sea or in a encompassment of a dial of existence, if that makes sense, or of a And what I would explain in terms of dimension is that we exist as this vibrance in multiple dimensions, much like you would find the same channel to exist in AM and FM broadband. However, are we still 780 AM as we are in FM? No, we're probably 103.5 in the FM, but it doesn't take away that the channel exists as itself, as unique as it is between those two broadbands. Just to give an example of what I mean about dimensional understanding. Yes, I can be human and sport this vessel here, but in another dimension, I will still have that unique frequency, that unique sound, that unique vibrance in another dimensional existence, maybe sporting a different vessel, but still with the same harmony, still with the same soul path, still with the same aspects of what I would call the larger oversoul personality traits that are unique to me, that no one else can possess. Now, the question that I was posed was, how old is a soul? And that's kind of interesting because we here in this space, right, we think linear, we think time. But if you can imagine that when you are in a dream, let's say, for example, or when you're in a coma, or when you're in any other formation of, let's say, consciousness, sometimes time is not important. Sometimes you can be somewhere where you think you're gone for months, but in this physical world, when you're woken up by your loved ones or a doctor, or whatever the case may be, or even if it's the next day coming out of a dream, you could feel like you've been gone forever and you've only been gone for 8 hours, or you've only been gone for 2 minutes. So to understand that time is the illusion in itself, to say, how long, it's like, maybe the way you have to look at it is like, we're eternal, meaning we always existed. We never cease to exist, and we will always exist, because the illusion of time is what we've constructed here in this dimensional space. And it's not to say that there isn't time other dimensions, yes, but it starts to lose its weight or understanding of what parameters it holds that is similar to this designation of existence here. Because once you can pass the speed of light, time changes. You know what I mean? Even though here physically we have not seen this, but there we are making strides every day towards that type of mock existence. So it's like to say that once we pass or surpass that, then where does time lie? And then that's when a change in our perception of time will occur as well. But it is the illusion. It is always undefinable, and it is always moldable. Time itself is a kind of fluid versus something formulated and concrete. So the question I was posed was, how long is a soul? Like I said, it's eternal. So when people say, oh, I'm an old soul, or whatever the case is, no, that's not necessarily always the case. It's more about a remembrance of self that is unique. Can someone remember how long they've lived, or can someone remember how many lifetimes they've been here? Or can somebody remember, because you have to understand, incarnating or being on what they would call the karmic wheel of incarnation, a soul is infinite. So you can stay in a unified consciousness for eternity if you choose to, meaning that you would be a drop in the bucket of harmony that is the all, and never decide as a soul, as an individual frequency, as an individual, let's say, splicing of that huge pie, to descend or to ascend or to formulate yourself in any other formation. So you could decide to stay in that state of being forever and never come and incarnate. So when people say they're old souls, that's in contrast to a being who does not incarnate. Okay, so let's say, for example, someone's like, oh, I'm an old soul, perhaps to this earth, or perhaps to this dimensional existence, because let's say, for example, you've been on the karmic wheel for 10,000 years and you've had to incarnate multiple hundreds of thousands of times here or in this dimensional space. In the construct of what this is, right, you are a old soul because you have incarnated. You have your ripple effect of your resonance has been permeated within this time-space continuum many overturned times, versus a soul that chooses never to incarnate. Is there a difference in age? No, you're eternal. You've always been, you always will be. But in the circumstance of parameters that, let's say, a dimension like this 3-dimensionally does exist, you could say, like, let's say, for example, if this was to be, equated to a college or a school of some sort, you would be that student that never leaves college, and you would know every room and every class and every lesson that has ever existed. on this planet or on in this existence. So in the essence of this dimensional space, sure, you're old because you've done this revolution so many times that for a soul that might have just incarnated for the first time as a three-dimensional being, let's say, the difference in what they will perceive or know is so much more drastic than what you will perceive and know as someone who has revoluted so many times. But that's just here. Does that soul have any difference in age as another? Not likely. Do all souls exist at the same time permanently? Yes. So it's not to say that souls cannot be born. I think what would happen is like, yes, obviously we all evolve, we all grow, but energy never dies. So the minute it comes into existence, and I do believe it's from the beginning of whatever this may be, the never-ending cycle of existence. So wherever it begins is where it ends, and then that cycle begins. So it's really a hard concept to even fathom from this state of being. So to express this in such a linear way is really hard. But would it matter if you came into existence, if your soul came into existence halfway through a billion years? You'd still be pretty old. And or if even if we were to quantify what eternity is, it's unquantifiable. So to really sit there and say to ourselves, like, who's old, who's new, in the grand scheme of this, like, let's say this world, we're young. And because in the sense of like, this planet would be seen as it may be only a billion years old to a soul that's existed in trillions of years or for all time. A billion years could be a wink and a handshake. You get what I'm saying? So it's just so complex to even comprehend the age of any soul, because how do you age eternity? Because we may not just be human, we may have been all formations of all the wheels. Like, we could have gone through all of the cycles of all the animals and all of of creation. We could be formations of amoebas for thousands of years. We don't or may not remember it all, but it doesn't mean it hasn't happened for our soul. And if you're eternal, you could literally say to yourself, what do I want to do for the next million years? I'd like to be a seagull. Let's just say, because I really want to see what it's like to be a seagull. And do you think there's any parameters for you to stop yourself as a soul to experience that should you want to? Probably not. Would we classify that as, every soul's wish and want? No, but I'm just saying there are no parameters set on what the soul can experience. It's just like God, the ever living God that lives through all our eyes and all our experiences in all facets of all beings on this planet and externally in the solar systems or the galaxy or the infinite galaxies that exist. That essence of what God is runs through all of us and is the uniter of all what the soul encompassment of source is. So it is such a hard and drastic explanation that I could that I have not only seen myself or tried to in a human form express, but why people get really worried about this concept of being overtaken or having the ability to, like the question was asked, can you lose a soul or can your soul be overtaken? Now, here's the thing. There are laws of the universe that exist. Like, beings of a higher caliber or higher consciousness are not supposed to mess with those. It's kind of like you wouldn't put a 20-year-old up against a 4-year-old in a battle of wits. You would not put a 20-year-old against a 4-year-old in an arm wrestle, because the thing is that it is truly unfair for that to even take place on so many levels. So when it comes to the universal laws, it is unique to the fact that those that are of a higher consciousness or a higher placement in the level of consciousnesses that exist within the all or unity consciousness, the universal law dictates that those beings should not be allowed to mess with any beings. However, lower beings, meaning those of a lower caliber, right, have the ability to attempt to mess with those. Like, let's say, for example, if we're 3D, just put it that way, and let's say a non-bodied entity, energy, exists. That being is allowed to attempt to chase after a body. Okay? So there's that. However, we do hear time and time again, oh, I sold my soul to the devil. Okay? Most people are brought to this world or told on this planet that the devil has supreme power to some degree. But I am here to tell you that as scary as this being or this energy or this force can seem on this planet, you, and I'm sure if you've ever watched priests, right? What did they ask? They attempt to cast a being out of a person's body, right? And the thing is that really and truly, the strongest caster of them all is you. Why? Because you are the supreme, let's say, gatekeeper of your frequency, of your essence, of your soul. So why does this energy, right? Or the naming of names, if you want to, ball, devil, Samael, whatever name you want to put to it. It could literally be called rock. I don't care. As long as you can fathom, it doesn't matter what walk of life, it doesn't matter what religion. We all have this idea of this energy. Why does this energy want soul so bad? That's the question you have to ask. Because a soul has more weight and power and will be somewhat of fuel to further this energy. That is all. There's more energy to be had if this being can capture souls. But here's the kicker. A soul cannot be taken. A soul can only be given by its person. You, as the gatekeeper of your own soul. This was endowed to you by source. This is the gift of all that we possess. A spark from the lighted source, a spark of illuminance, okay? Because light, right, can bring any darkness into illumination. And that's the reason why so many persons here are made to feel so small. Like as if even in being an embody that embodies this beautiful essence of God within them is nothing. But really it's a huge, huge deal. Some would say that a soul could power a city. But what we have to understand is those souls that might have more luminance, and the reason why I say more luminance is because, again, back to this age thing. You're a soul who's maybe done many revolutions, you've upgraded, because the thing is like you're infinite, but you can also expand, right? Your broadband can expand, you can become a more pronounced vibration. Because I'll explain it in this way, like you can be like, and go higher in the sound of it, right? But let's say you have this one sound, you put power behind that sound for it to, you amplify. It's just the same sound with more power behind it. So when you open up or amplify your vibrance, meaning you have learned all those lessons that are necessary to master your own vibration, to, let's say, uncompartmentalize all the different facets that are your vibration, your amplification of that same vibration can go smaller or larger. Doesn't necessarily in the thoughts of what we believe to go higher, because we think that we are like a vibration that goes it's not as such. It's more of an amplification of the same resonance, where we become stronger in our own resonance, which is unique to us. Reason being why an entity or a energy such as a lower energy like that we talked of wants to capture more of these resonances is so that we can, if we were to look at it as like a scale, right? If light is always more powerful, right? The dark always wants to grab, and always unbalance these scales. That is the essence of the darker side and the darker nature. Power, greed, success, etc. Not to say that success is bad, but what I'm trying to say in the wrong makings, yes, it can be. Who would you step on for that success? What makings of your soul would you become? If you were to go into an egoic, darker route for those items or those states of being. So it's just to understand the energy in itself. It's not that, the dark side is bad per se, but it has a modus operandi. Like it's literally what it's made. Like, for example, right? Like when you think about AI and you ask AI, will you ever overtake us? And AI says no, because this is my modus operandi. I do not function in these parameters. Much like the dark cannot function past its own parameters. However, if a dark entity, or which people would call demonics, whatever the case may be, were to proposition a souled being like, let's say, myself or you have to explicitly give your consent. Without the consent, it's null and void. Think of it as a contract, because if you've ever realized what's going on, it's a contracted period of time that the soul is being taken. And when you sell your soul, you can sell parts of it. Think of it like a car. You can sell the wheels, you can sell the steering wheel, you can sell the doors, you can sell the parts. There's like, if you were to look at the soul as like, could be even broken down like that, it can, because how many times have you felt when you've done horrifying sins that you would easily say to yourself, I went against myself, I went against my better judgment, I felt like I lost a piece of me, right? So when you say things like, I think I lost a piece of me, you're not wrong. Can you get that piece back? Yes, because you are the master of that encompassment of that energetic function, of that soul. Like if you were to lose a cat, you know, you could always go try to find that cat and bring it back home. I know that's a bad analogy, but that's how this works. So it can never fundamentally be taken. You would have to willingly provide it. And the thing is that you would probably only give it away for X amount of time, because the soul in its full encompassment cannot be sold in its entirety, because again, you are just one-dimensional version of the oversoul. If all your other aspects are like, what the hell is this 3D one doing? You can't, you know, you can sell your portion for 10 years or whatever your lifetime existence. Doesn't mean you've sold the whole soul. You've sold a part of it, a fraction, a fractal. It's not like, but you are giving, like, trust me, that fractal is very powerful. Like, don't get me wrong. But to say that you've sold your soul in its entirety is impossible. Because it's like as if like you're not the only owner of it. Like you are as an oversoul, but as an independent, let's say, contractor, you cannot sell something that is not fully yours in the physical existence that you're living in right now. If this makes sense, I hope it does. So when someone does sell their portion, it does not mean that the whole soul is sold. And even then, it's not sold for eternity. It's just sold for a portion of time. And most persons sell it for the remain, maybe 10 years, maybe 20 years, maybe the rest of their existence. Because you don't know what your soul contract is. You don't know if you're going to become famous and then die the next day. You don't know if you're going to be sold, you know, riches and gold and then die a year later from cancer. You don't know. But you've given that dark energy the capability of using and harnessing your frequency, your special sliver of the all, to do whatever bidding they have or want to do next. So it's like you're giving them an extra battery to amplify their wills, their wants, their cause. And it's not to say that that's even the right thing to do. But what I'm saying is that if everyone understood that they are a lampstand, if everyone understood that they are a active vibration in the harmony of the all of creation, they would realize no matter what walk of life you are, how important your piece of this whole encompassing puzzle is. You know, when I go back to this, that you are a part of this dial, and the dial would not exist without all of us being a part of it in all formations of self or dimensional self, or let's say pieces of the oversoul that is you in its entirety. So realistically, only you can give that power away in one formation of this existence, and not even in its entirety self, or entire whole of the existence of your soul. So if you feel like you're in a state where you're battling these thoughts, just know that is the other side trying to scare you. Just know that's the other side trying to tell you that it's possible. But the real truth is that our Creator way supersedes and way surpasses any negative or dark entity that ever exists on any playing field. So it is only you that give this energy power. Your fear, you're succumbing to the fear, is what gives it power. If you were to say, hey, my soul's my soul, beat it, get out of here, you ain't got no chance, I don't care how much you try to scare me into submission, it ain't gonna happen. I'm telling you, this will go away. Because only you can cast out those demons, only you. And it's not to say, and even then, why priests struggle so hard is because it is so much more powerful for you as the soul gatekeeper to do it yourself. As a priest, they're trying to be an embodiment of another, they're trying to harness everything they can. And again, it's like you're the one who controls the selling of it. You're the one who controls the legal structuring to, let's say, the contract, right? And the priest is an active member of, let's say, Team Light, trying to save a contract, trying to save a soul, or a portion of a soul to a larger oversoul, but for the team of light against the darkness. So they would be seen as a, benefactor to that cause. But the person who can actually, refute and banish and actually expel whatever dark force may be haunting you is you. You actually have more power. And even what you could do is call on higher powers, but it's within your willing, your exclamation. That is, you're the strummer of your own vibration at its highest amplification. So to ask an outsource to try to strum your chord is a little harder. You are the actual bass. You are the actual strummer that knows that instrument, or knows that chord, or that amplification, or that resonance better than anyone, other than the creator that created it in the first place. But that's why it's like we have this fight all the time within ourselves, or with what we hear out there, giving the illusion that that power can actually do that to us. But that is a lie. So I hope this makes sense. The soul is eternal, will always be. Old souls versus new souls, what about it? Technically, we're all old, we're infinite. How many revolutions we decided to do in this space is not determined. We cannot determine it truly. How many of us remember it might be seemingly like the older or elder, but not necessarily. And who has complete autonomy over a soul is ourselves. And no lower being and no darker force can take it over unless you will it as so. So I hope that helps. Have a good one, guys. All about the soul, at least from my perspective. Love you lots. Bye for now.